Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show on Tuesday, February 25. It's getting harder. I'm actually having a harder time remembering the date. The further we get into the year, we have real NFL news to talk about because it's NFL Combine Week, and the entire football world has descended on Indianapolis like locusts. It's a plague of football people. Giving lots of good information, lots of coach and GM interviews. We have some nuggets out of Indy. Some on Tyreek Hill, some on Brian Thomas Jr., maybe some Shedeur Sanders. If we have time, we decided before the show we probably don't have time, so I don't know why I said that. But
we'll see.
Matthew Stafford, I was trying to get someone to pay him. Stafford, he's in his paycheck era. That's fine.
Phew.
Go to a paycheck era at the end of
your year. Try to get one last one.
Trying to get one last one. One last job for Stafford. One first job, Denny, for Khalil Shakir. He got real paid on Tuesday. We'll talk about his fantasy prospects. The Cowboys talking about, what is this about the Cowboys? Running the ball. All right.
Yeah.
Cowboys going to run. Don't have running back.
Whatever.
Then some bounce back offenses from Denny's recent article. But first, we have to talk about the league-wide push for the cancellation, Denny, of the tush push. And I honestly, I'm a tush push backer.
Me too.
I'm really old school. I don't know, maybe to stop it. And
right.
And then everyone's talking about how it's unstoppable, it's stupid, there's no drama. I don't know, why did I see Josh Allen fail at the tush push 3 times in the biggest game of his life? And
right.
If it's so unstoppable, yet only one team can do it, Denny.
Only one team. So, and not even the big boy quarterbacks can do it every time, like Jalen Hurts. Because Jalen Hurts, again, for those who may have missed it, can bench press a tank.
He can.
Leg press a tank.
He can leg press an F-35. He can leg press the USS Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah,
I think that's a real ship. That's got to be a real ship.
I saw it on YouTube. It's crazy.
You did. So I just feel fully old school. Kind of just cry more.
Cry, yeah.
Push stuff. I do agree with I kind of don't like the aspect. It being literally unstoppable is kind of annoying. When there's no drama, it's all right, whatever. 4th and 1, there's no drama. The Eagles have a first down, but again, they're the only team that can do it. And if you have a superpower, I don't really understand why it should be taken away.
Yeah,
because the other teams can't do it.
Okay. Also, it has spurred innovation. We're going to get to the team that's crying and coping the most about the tush push, but it spurred innovation in that other teams who have little spindly quarterbacks like me and Pat, they instead get their 6'6", 270-pound tight end to get under center, and to push that tush, and that seems to work. So it's not like these other teams just throw up their hands. Oh well, we can't do it. I guess we don't have a big strong quarterback. Oh, we're going to use our big strong tight end. I think that's great.
Blake Bell was born too soon. If you don't know who that is, Google the Bell Dozer.
Yeah.
It was the Packers who have introduced the legislation, and you don't have to Google too much to find why they want to ban it, because they couldn't stop it in the wild card round. And
I actually have a quote here from Packers GM Brian Gutekunst, who said, we're not very successful against it, talking about the push. He says, I know that, but to be honest with you, I haven't put much thought into it. Sure, Brian. It's been around for a while. We've used it in different fashions with our tight ends. Yes, you have. And actually successfully, by the way. She says, so again, I think there will be a lot of discussions about it. I've got to look at some of the information as far as injury rates to see what it is. There are no injury rates. What are you talking about? No one gets hurt.
I actually have never seen someone get hurt.
It's the least injury prone play in the entire NFL. Because nothing much happens.
Nothing happens.
Some guys go forward and other guys go backwards, and that's it. Also, Raheem Morris came out at the combine and very stridently said it's got to go, because he said there's no other play where you can push another player, which is, of course, objectively false.
To translate to, he saw Kirk Cousins try to do it one time in training camp and realized that it would not be an option for his team.
I was going to say Cousins obviously would break in half if you actually tried a tush push. And then I said, well, Michael Penix may be able to do it, but I don't think Penix would be able to either. So.
Well, Penix would be able to do it were he not working on his 4th torn ACL, I think is what the problem is there for the Falcons. And By the way, Danny, they're looking to make the kickoffs. I was going to use a word. I'm not going to use that word. They're looking to make the kickoffs, though, even more complicated and complex.
I saw that.
Can't say it's going to work.
So I during the Super Bowl, because you watch the Super Bowl with people who don't usually watch football, right?
Yes.
And so I had some friends and family who were like, "Hey, explain the new kickoff rules." And
Can't do it.
I couldn't.
Can't do it. Like
I didn't know.
Aren't you a football right? It doesn't matter at all.
No, I mean it's something about the red zone and the end zone.
I don't know. They kick it and then they catch it and then something doesn't happen.
Nothing really happens usually.
They do a performative art installation. So we're gonna see the kickoffs get even more complex and confusing and more pointless in 2025. But Denny, we know what we're hoping for in 2025 is more Tyreek Hill fantasy points, where kind of alibis abounded for Tyreek all last year. Tua missed 6 or 7 games. He was playing through a season-long wrist injury. These are comforting if you're trying to find something I know Tyreek still has 1 or 2 more years left in him, but Tyreek also old, Denny. Tyreek old, ? It's not really a question. It's a statement of fact. And just even if we're guaranteed, let's say full Tua health, full Tyreek health, are we at the point where we're adjusting expectations for a player who couldn't even really crack the top 30 in terms of PPR points per game last season? Depends on what games played, slider you use. Is Tyreek kind of an irreversible fantasy decline, or is it just anytime something bad happens to an older player, we're saying it's only because he's old. It can't possibly be because of any of these extenuating circumstances. Does he deserve the benefit of the doubt, or is it just Tyreek old?
I don't think it's just Tyreek old. Age 31 season this coming year for Tyreek Hill. He had that nagging wrist injury throughout last year. Apparently that really held him back. I don't really understand how, but it did.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be honest, I'm a little unclear on that too. Were they not throwing him certain kinds of balls or something?
I'm very confused as to how a wrist issue could hold you back that much.
Maybe fighting off press
by far.
You're fighting off press coverage. I mean, you can't hand fight as much, I guess, but I didn't see any indication how the wrist was affecting him, but I'm not.
Yeah, I will say if you're looking for bright spots, and you would not look at yards per route run, you would not look at yak per reception, you would not look at these things for bright spots for Tyreek Hill, but you could look at his ESPN Open score. And only 7 receivers had a higher open score this past season than Tyreek. Josh Downs, Drake London, AJ Brown, Mike Evans, Neighbors, and your guy Dontavian Wicks. So it's a good metric.
Dontavian just gets too wide open. Remains Dontavian's problem. He gets so wide open that he panics. And
he should get less open. I think
he really should consider getting less open.
But so Tyreek can still separate. I think he still has world-class speed as far as the NFL goes. The Dolphins seem to abandon the wide receiver heavy approach last year and check down to Devon Achane and Jonnu Smith primarily. So they had the big fantasy seasons, and then Waddle and Hill were kind of afterthoughts. If that model sticks, into 2025, then that's a problem structurally, I think, for Tyreek Hill. But otherwise, I think he should be fine. And honestly, you're going to get him at a discount, right?
You are, but there's a reason you're getting him at a discount. It's kind of what you always have to keep in mind with these older players. To get Galaxy Brain on Tyreek and the wrist, we know they went full horizontal raid. This could be an extremely dumb take, but maybe he couldn't catch short area darts because of his wrist. Maybe that was one way where it affected him, and he can't be catching bullets in the short game. And again, this is true Galaxy Brain stuff here, because I don't think. Why would the horizontal raid go away? I think they've determined it's the only way they can keep Tua healthy, and that Tyreek is going to have to find his place in this new Dolphins reality. By the way, I still think Tyreek can maybe get traded, even though they've put that genie back in the bottle. It's very unlikely, but I would not consider it a 0% chance that Tyreek is traded. I could see that bubbling back up.
If they do trade him, if the Tyreek Hill era in Miami ends this offseason, what a truly failed experiment that was. They got nothing out of it. I mean,
I wouldn't say that. I would not say that. What they got out of it is showing that if you don't have a premium quarterback, you still can elevate your team and offense with premium players elsewhere. It was just that this version of the Dolphins, the ceiling wasn't making the Super Bowl like it is for Kyle Shanahan. The ceiling was going one and done in the playoffs. And Tyreek, I feel like, inarguably did elevate the operation, but that if you're not a quarterback, you have to have like 4 or 5 Tyreeks, like guys who are making who are way above average, like key positions, and receivers a key position. So I think he did elevate the operation, but there's just only so far he elevated there.
No doubt about him elevating Tua and everybody else around him. But I'm just saying, as far as like results go, like you get nothing as far as like postseason wins, as far as like actually competing. Like they were never ever a threat to the Chiefs or the Bills or the Bengals or anybody in the AFC.
No, but I think without him, they would have not even been pretenders. Is maybe a safe assumption. I don't know. So he elevated it, but yeah. If you're going to have the non-premium quarterback, it needs to be like the 49ers, where you've got premium players like all over the place. And the Dolphins had a few, but not enough, and bumped up against the absolute hardest ceiling. I probably won't be drafting Tyreek Hill. I don't draft old players.
So I know. I fall for it sometimes. I get the fell for it again award with these guys sometimes. So I'm not discounting it completely.
Now, one thing I do is draft young players who have had one good season. I take it as like, listen, if he's good as a rookie, it means he's going to be good forever.
That's it. That's
there's nowhere to go but up. That is always my analytics on young players, where even with rookie seasons, we do have to keep in mind this could be a career year. This could have been an outlier campaign. Just because they were amazing as a rookie doesn't mean it's just a steady upward trajectory, but it usually is.
Yeah.
And Brian Thomas Jr. was absolutely incredible as a rookie. I mean, I'd say put himself in the mix for wide receiver 1 overall status in dynasty leagues. I wasn't putting him ahead of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, obviously, yet, but he's putting himself at least on the periphery of the conversation. So not surprising, the new Jags coach Liam Coen said the team's passing offense would, quote, run through Brian Thomas Jr. He's basically already a wide receiver 1 last year. Again, depending on the games played, slider. He cracks in around wide receiver 12, wide receiver 13. I mean, do we see any reason to throw cold water on like the Brian Thomas Jr. will easily be a wide receiver 1 train? Or is this just like, we can't even overthink this one? Just like, he's a wide receiver 1. Be happy about it. There's no need to debate it. What do you think, Denny?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the latter side of that argument. Like, he's not a wide receiver 1. He's potentially the wide receiver 1 in fantasy. So I think you could get, depending on the league type you're in, if you're in a sicko league with a bunch of people who grind news all year round and everything, you're not going to get a break on the ADP for Brian Thomas. But I think there are some formats, some situations where you could get him as your wide receiver 2 if you go wide two receive. I think you could go outside the top 12 picks, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
And so if you take one in the first round, and then you could get him in the second. That's I think an absurd luxury. Coen, just to reiterate something we talked about a couple weeks ago, one of the first things he said during his introductory press conference was he was shocked at how effective and good Brian Thomas was from the slot. So
I immediately poo-pooed that, by the way.
I know. I'm still very, very intrigued by this. Brian Thomas succeeded with Mac Jones and in one of the worst designed offenses in the NFL. So better design. If hopefully Trevor Lawrence is better than Mac Jones, I'm not betting that completely, but I think he is. And Thomas should be elevated, I think, from those situational differences. I
do not like the slot thing. To me, that's ultimate Kyle Shanahan brain. Like, no player is capable of doing anything on his own. Like, all targets and touches must be created and manufactured by the coaching staff. Like, I don't know, man. Just let the big guy go nuts on the side. Is my that I feel like you're raising his PPR floor, which I guess we care about in fantasy, but capping his ceiling. Mixing him into the slot is, of course, fine. That's good. That is very, very good. But if they did any 40 to 50% of his snaps in the slot, I'd be like, dude, stop. Let this guy feast.
I would say that would be overkill. I would look for something like Justin Jefferson's usage, where Jefferson is not used as a what would you just call it,
A pure boundary man.
A manufactured, but he's not used as a manufactured guy either. Like
no.
But he does get easy looks. I'm just saying, Brian Thomas succeeded in really poor circumstances last year.
McCorkle Jones.
And things are hopefully better. I think better going into 2025. And it doesn't hurt that they have a Zoomer general manager either. I mean, he knows what's going on.
This guy looks like Kyle out there, man. Like Kyle. That's why he's not on the show today. Kyle has become GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
He's been hired by an unnamed team. I actually was informed online that the new general manager of the Jags is a millennial.
He's a millennial, which to me, honestly, is a red flag because he looks like a Zoomer. And so he's a millennial, like already fighting against the dying of the light. Like, no, dude, I'm sorry. That's a Zoomer haircut.
Yeah.
You're going to need a millennial. You're one of us, man. You need a millennial haircut. Like, this is holding on. You're holding on a little too tight already.
This guy, I saw this guy's press conference, and this man, kid, whatever you want to say, he has seen some superhero movies. I mean, he had that speech ready to roll, and he was like Batman being introduced to the Jacksonville faithful. So he really. You're
saying he was speaking in non sequitur quips for no reason? Is that what you're saying?
The growling voice. I think no. It's no, just on a mission. He's on a mission, and he wanted everybody to know that. Very, very good public facing kind of GM, I think.
No offense, to the superhero movies, but if I wanted to hear 2.5 hours of non sequitur quips, I would just listen to my own brain because it's kind of what's going on in my brain.
Yeah, right.
So I guess never mind. I have no leg to stand on here.
No, right. We'll just watch the movie. By the way, the newest superhero movie, the one with Hulk who is red.
Hulk is red.
It seems to feature the downtown or fake downtown DC, which I always appreciate.
I saw the cherry blossoms in the trailer, and they put into Chat GPT, "What if Hulk red?"
And what if blossoms cherry? And
what if Hulk red? And then folks, he's red.
He's red.
He's red. And he's Harrison Ford for some reason. Like, we have an 82-year-old red Hulk.
So mad.
Listen, we could use some new franchise ideas.
You could,
or even just some new standalone film ideas.
That'd be cool. They could have their first one since 1992.
And the next board meeting is what if Hulk redder? The reason to fly, he wasn't red enough.
We didn't have enough cherry blossoms.
And another exec, like I said, it should be blue.
Why? And also, why is it coming out this time? The cherry blossoms don't happen for another 60 days.
No, they've tried to claim President's Day weekend. Listen, I love my presidents. I love Abe Lincoln. I love George Washington. President's Day weekend isn't like a legit three-day weekend. Like, it's just we have to stop. Like, no one treats it like a legit 3-day weekend. Just have to stop on that one. So anyway. What if Hulk redder? What if Brian Thomas wide receiver 1? I believe we think he is. I believe it's probably a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back after this. Ricky Fowler joins a host of stars on the PGA Tour as they travel to Florida to battle the Bear Trap at the Cognizant Classic. Make sure to check out the action in Palm Beaches Saturday and Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Oh, I was white-knuckling that promo. I read it before we came on air, and I tripped over a word or two, and I saw Cognizant in there. I'm like, oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully I can say Cognizant on command.
Yeah, it is one of those tough words that appear in a tournament or two throughout the year. Hopefully Ricky Fowler can make a cut. That's what I'm hoping.
Come on, man. A low blow.
Is it low? I mean, the guy make one cut, Ricky.
Yeah. Ricky, do one thing. Ricky, he's like American Sergio Garcia. Like, this guy can break through any day now. Like, he's been super good since he was like 17. And he's never won anything.
Well, I will say something I've noticed. I've gotten back into the PGA over the last few years, and something I noticed is the second these guys have kids, it is over. So Ricky's a dad. So
is he really?
Completely over.
Is it? It's over the second they have kids?
Oh,
Are you serious? You
Justin
sure about
Spieth, over. Like the second they touch their newborn, all their golfing ability leaves their body.
That would the Speed thing. I was like, what happened? This guy was gonna be the next Tiger for like 4 months.
Yeah, although Scheffler had a kid last year, we're gonna see if he can overcome the curse of the child.
Scheffler already had strong dad energy, so we'll see.
That's true.
Speaking of strong dad energy, Matthew Stafford is up to a Patrick Daugherty level of children. I was gonna say he for real seems gone from the Rams at this point, but it's not for real, I guess, because it does seem like it's a matter of finances. And it's kind of like a nothing personal situation between Stafford and the Rams. It basically kind of seems like he wants a bigger payday and they're willing to offer him. They're letting him see if that payday exists, kind of the courtesy you owe a player like Matthew Stafford. But I don't think he's entirely gone. But I do think the Rams are trying to prepare the public for this possibility. There's a lot going on with the Stafford situation where the Rams are one of the most absurd leaks I've ever seen in the history of the NFL. No, they would be comfortable with Jimmy G as the starter. I mean, come on, man, stop. Stop.
When Diana Rossini said that, you could see that she was like, whatever. Like
I know you could see like trying to just not burst out laughing like I just did. Like, stop. Like
no one is comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo.
We can hear this. Like, that we saw that. Well, in terms of NFL performances, I will never unsee Jimmy Garoppolo on Monday Night Football against the Lions.
Oh.
I will never, ever, 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 ever unsee that. Like, it was the Lions, right?
It was
the game where I've used the same analogy several times, but that game, I just thought it looked like Jimmy G was like, let the ocean waves take me. Like, if I wash back to shore, it was meant to be. If they take me out, that's where it was meant to be. I've never seen a player that's like in their career in real time like that, and yet he's not in his career.
It almost forced Davante Adams to retire at halftime. It was that sort of that. I would say Josh Freeman in his Monday Night Meltdown many years ago, and Jimmy Garoppolo on that Monday night. Those are the two worst quarterback performances I've seen. The
Freeman one, absolutely legendary. But okay, Jimmy Garoppolo will not be the Rams starting quarterback. We know that. We don't know if Matthew Stafford will be the Rams starting quarterback. The teams he's been linked to here, Denny. Where in my document? Oh my God! It was the Steelers, the Giants, and there was a third team. I somehow deleted. Oh no, there it is. The Raiders, Steelers, and Giants. Of those four, the answer could be the Rams. Where do you think he's most likely to be playing next season? And if it's not the Rams, where would you like him to see of those three teams? Where would you like to see him of those three teams?
Yeah. I don't know, because I just feel like he's so brittle in his old age that it's kind of like, who cares? Like he's not like he goes.
I've moved on. I think the Rams should move on. This is not a popular opinion I've noticed in sports media. Like, what are the Rams thinking? Like, I don't know, Rams are thinking that he like breaks into glass if he gets touched at this point.
I mean, the Giants, like Joe Schoen, or is that how you say his last name?
It doesn't matter. Shane.
Yes, thank you, producer Adam. Joe Shane said at the Combine on Tuesday that the team was all in on getting guys who could help them in 2025. That could mean anything.
I mean, Stafford, he's going to the Giants.
Right. Dan Duggan, the very good beat writer for the Giants, works for The Athletic. He said, that probably means that they're interested in Stafford and that they're going to make a run for him.
That comment from Shane is basically like they already signed him and can't announce it yet.
Really? Okay, you interpret it
a little bit.
That's strong.
No, I mean a little bit. It's strong. It's not that strong.
Okay, yeah. I mean, because I didn't want to read too far into it because it's like, well, a rookie could also help you, but it does seem like the kind of move the Giants would make. They're just all desperate to hang on to their jobs for one more season. Maybe Stafford can play 12 or 14 games and get them there. I don't think it would work. I think it would be really bad for everybody, all parties involved. As for fantasy, I mean, Malik Neighbors could do anything with any quarterback, and so Stafford would seem to be a really good fit for a guy like Neighbors who works in the short areas, whatever. But I could see him still landing back with the Rams. I mean, it just fit. He just fits there.
I mean, the Rams are the Occam's razor one for the primary reason that he is still on the team. Of the three teams he's been linked to, the Steelers, Giants, the Raiders, I'd be a little interested in him going to the Raiders and running like a really old-fashioned Pete Carroll offense. Like, listen, dude, like we're running 42 times, but we're going to pick our spots. Like we think you can still be an excellent pick your spots quarterback, which I think would be true. We want to really protect you, although the Steelers, a lot of times the Seahawks had awful offensive lines. Pete seems to have a tortured relationship with his offensive lines. Where I think the Raiders despite not really having a great 1-53. I think Pete Carroll makes them kind of an instant turnaround candidate. I think he'd be interesting. The Raiders have to upgrade their backfield. I could see him like being the caretaker of like a really balanced, probably run heavy Pete Carroll offense. The Giants thing, and that basically has no hope. The Giants thing, the absolute ceiling is 10-7 wild card loss. It's just like, what's even the point? Like, would that even save their jobs?
What is the point? There's the Giants are not in position to be like, all we need is a viable quarterback and we're good. Like that team is so depleted from top to bottom. It's having staff. It's not going to be good for Stafford. It's not going to be good for the team. It's not going to be good for the head coach. If they sell the house to get Stafford, it's over for everybody. It's over for that front office. It's over for Dable. It's over for everybody.
I totally agree. The Steelers, at this point in Matthew Stafford's career, that guy cannot be not only outdoors, but in a stadium as like real grass. That would not work. He's a dome guy. Stafford has to be a dome guy.
Well, but in New York, you're still talking about the same thing.
It's at least not real grass. Like the Steelers, he's not meant for Steelers lifestyle.
I agree.
He's very tough. He's very, very tough. I don't want to cast that aspersion. Stafford's like as tough as nails, but at this stage in his career, brittle old guy, you cannot be like an outdoor Steelers quarterback. Like he is not about that life. That would be a disaster. What
you're saying is that the Steelers should build a dome.
The Steelers should maybe build a dome.
Oh yeah. I finally got you to say one team.
The Steelers should maybe build a dome. The Packers absolutely not. The Bears, truly shameful. Bears truly shameful.
Wait, you're against that?
No, man, if you're on the shores of Lake Michigan, you just have to embrace that, man. If you're on a Great Lake, the Browns and Bears are both like they're both basically like in a Great Lake.
I know.
You cannot be in that kind of sweeping vista and then give a dome. I'm sorry, you just can't do it.
So what so that you can write poems about the teams?
Yeah. You know, so you can forever chase your one good season from 40 years.
Right. If you want to be good, you build a dome. It's simple as that. Like it's not hard.
Good guy. But yeah, Stafford, we're going to be we're going to be tracking that one extremely closely between now and free agency. One guy who is not going to be a free agent, but I guess is probably going to a contract here, Khalil Shakir, no longer. Not a wide receiver one deal, especially with the salary cap creeping up against $300 million. But a 4-year, $60.2 million contract, $32 million guaranteed. It's a really strong wide receiver 2 contract. He might have to be the Bills wide receiver 1 next year, though, Denny. But that's a strong real-life wide receiver 2 contract. The question I would have is, can he be a wide receiver 2 in fantasy? He bumped up against that in 2024. Seems miscast for that role for me, though. What do you think for Khalil Shakir and his wide receiver 2 prospects?
For PPR, and I know that is a big caveat for many people, but for PPR, I think it's possible, and here's why. I was looking at his targets per route run, which really gives you an idea of how a pass catcher commands targets, right? And it was 25% last year. Okay, that's in the range of like Justin Jefferson, of I lost my place here, of Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans. So that's pretty elite. And then against zone defenses, which the Bills face a lot because of Josh Allen's rushing ability, you get he's up to 27% in against zone. So I do think that because there's just no other game in town, and I truly mean that. I mean, there's nobody else who's commanding targets, least of all Dalton Kincaid. Okay, so like there's nobody you can point to. The Bills could go out and make a splash in the draft or free agency and get a receiver, and this all kind of goes down the drain. But if things stay relatively the same, I think Shakir can be a wide receiver too.
I think maybe too, they're just protecting themselves against the possibility that they don't do that. And this is too Galaxy brain, but kind of getting him in the mindset, like you are the guy. They do need to add, but I think the fact that they used the high second on Keon Coleman last year, that they're not going to throw in the towel on Dalton Kincaid yet. I think this maybe is them making peace with the fact that the cavalry is not coming for 2025. And listen, I mean, his efficiency has increased every year. Like the real life production has increased every year.
Yeah.
It's not like a Gabe Davis situation where he had a good rookie year and just kind of plateaued. He is getting better. I guess he could take yet another. have a hard time believing there's another gear to Khalil Shakir's game, but he's had a new gear each of the past 2 seasons. So
I mean,
maybe I just need to be there to see it. I'm not seeing what they're seeing, and maybe there's another gear to his game. I have a hard time saying top 24 in fantasy, but the lack of target competition is pretty compelling from a fantasy perspective.
Right. And that's not something that you like to rely on. You would like a guy, you talk about Brian Thomas. I don't care what happens. He's going to be, the driver of that offense. But Shakir will be highly dependent on the rest of the offensive structure. Now, I don't mean like, to demean this guy at all.
But to immediately demean this person.
But to demean him, I'm going to say that Shakir is an awful lot like Amon-Ra St. Brown in that there's no other level to St. Brown's game. Like there's no downfield element. The offense is perfect for St. Brown to thrive in, and he's been very efficient in that Detroit offense, as has Stafford. I mean, not Stafford, Goff. Yeah, I think of those guys in the exact same way. But so I think Shakir can get by doing the same things that St. Brown does, maybe slightly.
You're missing the really critical difference. That's Amon-Ra is so much about dog levels. Not that Khalil Shakir does not.
I think Shakir's a dog, man.
He is, but listen, Shakir is the dog levels guy. Amon-Ra is like an inner ring Hall of Fame dog levels guy.
Sure.
Off the charts dog levels. That's why Amon-Ra is a star. And like you're not matching Amon-Ra's dog levels. And
no, you're not.
Don't put Khalil Shakir in that same
bracket. I'm not. Okay, I'm just saying like the way that they play, the way they succeed, the way they get there for fantasy, it is similar. Now Lions fans are going to egg my house, but they can't egg my house.
They actually should.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But why can't they egg your house? Has it been?
I went to the grocery store the other day. There are no eggs.
Oh yeah, I know. The armed guards in front of the eggs.
No eggs. There's a lot of other stuff. No eggs.
These birds are faking the bird flu, by the way.
Yeah, come on.
The birds, they don't want to work anymore.
They've quite quit, unfortunately.
You know who didn't want to work anymore was Jerry Jones when he was conducting his coaching search. And he just hired Brian Schottenheimer. They then hired Ken Dorsey. Seems like Ken Dorsey could maybe be the play caller. Have they said anything about that? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
But Ken Dorsey, offensive assistant, said this is going to be a team that's going to run the football and be able to utilize that as a strength for us. Okay. I'm not sure who they're going to do that with. They are going to add what are you buying here? Will Shoddy continue the surprisingly pass-happy ways of Mike McCarthy, or do we see the Cowboys swinging the pendulum back towards a more balanced, maybe even run-based offense next year?
It's nice to talk this talk, especially this time of year, which the Cowboys do every single year. Even when McCarthy was around, every March and April and May, it would be, we're going to establish, we're going to go back to the run, back to fundamentals. And then you get punched in the mouth once and you throw it 65% of the time. So yep. I feel like that's where they're headed again, unless things change drastically somehow. And as long as you have so much money and so many resources tied up in the passing attack here in Dallas with Dak and with CeeDee Lamb, that I just have a hard time believing anybody who's going to say, yeah, Dak and CeeDee Lamb, they're going to be on the periphery of our run-based attack. I don't buy that.
I could see making what I feel like is the valid argument that we have all those resources there, but there's too much pressure placed. There has to be some sort of pressure release valve. Having no running game was catastrophic in 2024. They just didn't have a running game until it was too late. They could have had a better running game if they had committed to Rico Dowdle at any time.
They didn't have one in 2023 either.
No. I feel like they need that pressure release valve. I feel like it would make sense actually, but yeah, they also need a second wide receiver like so badly.
They need it so bad. I actually think, and I know you'll be shocked to know this, to hear this, but I think that the path for the Cowboys is not to say, okay, we're going to start like doing the balance thing. I think it's just to go all in. Just get another receiver opposite CeeDee Lamb and just go nuts.
It doesn't work anymore. That doesn't work anymore.
Well, it worked once for the Eagles this year, and now everybody's going to try to copy that, but you can't do it because Saquon Barkley is special.
Yeah, it doesn't work. No. I mean, all the good teams now have like legit running game. The Chiefs, one of the reasons the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl is because they had literally no semblance of a running game whatsoever.
No good teams have a running game except for
No. Ravens, Eagles, Lions, 49ers. Almost all the elite teams now have elite running games. You need to catch up.
Chiefs,
Even the Commanders,
Bengals.
even the Commanders, it's a different style running game, but like they relied on the run at really critical junctures. This punting on the running game is dead. It's totally dead, by the way.
It's dead. It's dead because everybody's scared now.
Well, and because it's a copycat league, and all the teams that are good.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. I mean, every offensive coordinator who's coming into a new job is just going to say, we're just going to do what the Eagles did this past year, and because that worked for them, so it'll probably work for us. And it's not true. It's not true. That's a very special circumstance. You're talking about like an all-time offensive line and an all-time running back combined, and that works. But you can't repeat that, across the league.
I'll give you the final word, and we'll see what might work for us with these bounce-back offenses in 2025 when we come right back after this. Watch the biggest names in sports talk, including Mike Florio, Dan Patrick, Dan Lebitard, and Matthew Berry, as they cover the biggest moments on and off the field each weekday on the NBC Sports Now channel. It is available on Peacock and free on most streaming platforms. Learn more at NBCSports.com/now. Denny, you have several articles out. We're going to talk about your one bounce back offenses. We've been teasing this, I feel like, for several shows. 3 teams that we expect to bounce back offensively. Very straightforward concept. Yeah. One of these teams we kind of already talked about last week, the 49ers, where they're like a super obvious, didn't make the playoffs. Will probably make the playoffs this year. One of the reasons is because their offense can't be any more hurt. Yeah, I feel like. But what are your reasons for expecting a 49ers offensive bounce back in the year 2025?
Yeah. All these teams, all 3 of these teams that I mentioned here, the Niners, the Cardinals, and the Falcons. Sorry if I blew the surprise here for the other 2, but they all were very good on early downs and largely failed to various degrees on later downs, to actually keep drives going. And that separates the good offenses from the elite ones. And so you have teams like the Ravens and the Eagles and the Commanders. The Commanders, by the way, just as an aside, no team has ever been more successful on 4th downs than the Commanders were this past year. Like an 82% conversion rate, just absolutely absurd. Zach Kruger, our own Zach Kruger, actually looked it up. It is the highest of all time. Anyway, so you see the Niners, as I mentioned in the piece, I'm not going to bore the folks with all the metrics, but they were on time on early downs, just couldn't convert on 3rd and 4th down. Also, not nearly as efficient in the red zone. And I have a feeling, Pat, that has to do with the absence of Christian McCaffrey.
Well, I was going to say, further shattering your running game argument. One reason they couldn't convert any 3rd or 4th downs is because they didn't have a real running back. They didn't have the machine known as Christian McCaffrey.
Right. And here's my slightly adjusted view on the running back situation in the NFL. There are special running backs, and the 3 that are in the league right now are Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, and Barkley.
Saquon Barkley. I mean, honestly, you might have to throw Jahmyr Gibbs in there at this point.
Maybe Gibbs, but I feel like the Lions haven't unleashed Gibbs in that way.
No, they have not. They should, though.
And they should, but they haven't. So, and they don't seem to be in on that sort of thing. Anyway, the Niners really, really struggled. Like they needed McCaffrey to make that machine go burr. And they just did. And also Brock Purdy ran really cold inside the 10-yard line, as I mentioned in the piece.
And just Brandon Ayuk being injured too. Like another, like you don't think of him as you think of him as more like a downfield, like big play guy, but I mean, those guys are chain movers. And you're missing like one of the best receivers in the NFL. You're just going to suffer.
Well, you have Deebo Samuel struggling through injuries again.
Yes.
Maybe not really into the game so much.
No.
Maybe didn't want to be around anymore.
No.
Missing Ayuk, George Kittle was banged up. Like they had a litany of injury issues that made it really hard on Purdy, who I think should be a long-term starter. And
do you think Purdy's good now, huh? What happened to you, man?
Not good, but better than most.
He's good. I've seen the light a long time ago on Purdy. Purdy is good. Because he does the things Jimmy G wouldn't do. He tries to make stuff up occasionally.
Yeah,
he's getting away with it less and less, but he's got the I am going to make a play gene. And
that's good.
It is.
When you can add that to an offense like Shanahan's, I think that can be really powerful. I mean, you think about like that's probably what they wanted with Trey Lance, but Trey Lance couldn't do the simple things.
No. The 49ers, I think it simply boils down to 2023, they were abnormally healthy. 2024, they were abnormally injured.
Right.
Even a splitting of the difference, you have a much more effective, balanced offense next year, and you have probably a playoff team. The Falcons, I don't know. Falcons are team 2 here. I guess you think Michael Penix is good. I definitely do not think he's bad. I feel like we need more information on Michael Penix. But what is your information telling you about why they're going to be a better offense next year?
I'm just going to read straight from the piece, if that's okay with you.
That's good.
Atlanta's offense posted the NFL's 4th best success rate last season, and with Michael Penix under center for the final 3 games, the Falcons led the league in success rate and ranked 7th in EPA per play, slightly better than the Ravens. The Falcons were top 10 in early down EPA in Penix's start. So what I'm seeing is I know it's look. I understand.
I watched those games. Like I didn't think they really looked that good.
Well, I do have a little bit of a hesitation here on Penix in a second. But what I saw was a run based team, and man, the Falcons were efficient on the ground last year because of Tyler Allgeier's backfield game. And so I think if they stay run heavy. And I should have probably included Bijan in that list of running backs earlier. Yeah, but
he's pretty amazing.
If they stay run heavy and then make life simple for Penix, I think Penix has the ability to keep the chains moving, to score, to convert yards into points, which really the Falcons just didn't do. 4th most yards last year. The points did not come. I mentioned in the piece Penix intermediate throws, and again, small sample, but abysmal, like actually quite alarming. So if that doesn't get cleaned up, I think there could be an issue.
That's what I was going to say. It's just, I remember the eye test is not being like, oh, this guy's a little more inaccurate than I was hoping or expecting. Yeah. And
he ranked, as far as accuracy on throws between 10 and 20 yards, he ranked 33rd out of 43 quarterbacks.
Man, yeah. Well, Penix, boy, there's a lot on the line for this guy. I know. What an absolutely crazy, fun storyline. That's gonna be not that I want like potential, like, oh man, this young guy maybe being a huge bust would be amazing, but it's a really, really fascinating storyline with everything they have going on. The Cardinals, why? What makes you think the Cardinals? I mean, Kyler, I still my favorite stat so far of the entire offseason was when I realized Kyler's 2024 stats were like seriously like a carbon copy of his rookie stats from 2019. And that just crystallized everything for me on Kyler. Like, it's why we can't give it up, because he came into the league and was instantly good and then never got any better. And like, he's a perfectly tolerable level of good, but the guy just cannot get better. But why do you think, curiously, that the offense is going to get better in 2025?
I went into this little exercise having no inclination that the Cardinals would pop up here on the spreadsheets, but they did. And it's because the same reason that the Niners did. Really good on 1st and 2nd down, especially in the run game. And that includes Kyler Murray as a runner, by the way. But really poor on later downs. They converted 44% of their 4th down attempts last year. That was the 5th worst rate in the league. So just couldn't get it done. James Conner led a backfield that was top 8 in success rate and EPA per play. Like that, I think that's a good sign that this team should be run heavy. Go ahead. I know you.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, like James Conner's like a year-to-year proposition to me.
Right.
Like, where I don't know if I'd be. I mean, I don't know. I guess I was just. I don't know if I'd be like including James Conner, but like you definitely need to, because he's a huge part of the offense and was extremely good in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, he's a plotter, but I think an effective one.
He's like a true chain mover. With some guys, it's a pejorative, like he can get 3 or 4 yards. Like James Conner is like a true chain mover, and that like he's a powerful runner. Like, if you need 4 yards, he will actually get you 4 yards. He will not get you 3.
Last note here. Right. Last note on the Cardinals. Kyler Murray's short area accuracy was off the charts compared to the last 2 years because I believe Trey McBride.
I mean, it doesn't matter because he doesn't do anything down the field.
No, nothing. Oh, it's so bad.
He's Daniel Jones level faith in his deep ball.
The deep ball is just miserable. The numbers are crazy bad.
What is that all about? Why is this guy not better, man? I guess you just either have it or you don't. He does not have the dog levels. He needs a dog level trainer. I'm sure he's got so many dog levels on COD. I'm sure he's out there just fragging people. And I believe frag is still a word they use in online shooters.
Can we say that on the show?
I don't know, actually. I was wondering after I said that.
We're going to have to look into that.
We're going to have to look into that one very powerfully. I will not be looking into the Cardinals any more powerfully. I just know they're not going to be good.
Okay.
8 or 9 or 8. Any more articles on the website right now, Denny, as we get ready for Thursday's show with Mr. Kyle Dvorak?
Yeah, coming up tomorrow, I'm going to have a piece on some receivers who commanded targets at a high rate, including Khalil Shakir.
What was the other one? Didn't you have another one that you published already?
One
or something?
No, it was I don't remember. I've written a lot.
Oh, that was from a long time ago. Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about your article. I think we might talk about Kyle's cut candidates heading into Thursday. A lot going on this week. News out of the combine. We'll talk about that. So for Denny Carter, I'm Patrick Daugherty. We'll be back with you on Thursday.